Hello students, we are learning chapter 13 organism and population, and in that we said that different habitats have two types of factors, abiotic factors and biotic factors. And then we started with the abiotic factors first, and we said that there are total 4 abiotic factors: temperature, water, light and soil. And in previous video we have covered 2 abiotic factors, that are temperature and water. Okay, and today we are going to start with rest of the 2 abiotic factors, that are light and soil. So let's learn the light first. We all know that light is important for plants for photosynthesis. All autotrophic organisms are directly dependent on light for photosynthesis. Okay, so for autotrophs, light is very much important for photosynthesis. Even the plants like herbs and shrubs, which grow under the large trees, generally herbs and shrubs grow under the large trees in the tropical regions. Okay, so in tropical regions, herbs and shrubs grow under the large trees. So they are adapted for photosynthesis in low light conditions because they don't get enough light for photosynthesis. So the herbs and shrubs which grow under the large trees which have big canopies, so these trees are adapted for photosynthesis in low light condition. So we are talking about plants, and in the first point we said that for autotrophs light is very much important for photosynthesis, and autotrophs like herbs and shrubs which grow under the large trees in tropical regions, they don't get enough light for photosynthesis. So they are adapted for photosynthesis even in low light conditions. Okay, and light is very much important for photoperiodic requirements. See, if the photoperiodic requirements are fulfilled, then and then only flowering will be there. Otherwise flowering will not occur in plants. So for flowering and photoperiodic requirements, light is very much important. So these three points explain the importance of light for plants. These 3 points explain importance of light for plants. Okay, in the first point we said about autotrophs in general. Okay, we said that for all autotrophs light is very important because they are dependent on light for photosynthesis. Then we talked about herbs and shrubs which grow under the large canopy trees in tropical regions. They don't get enough light for photosynthesis, so they are adapted for photosynthesis even in low light conditions. And then we said that light is very much important for photoperiodic requirement. If enough light is not there, then photoperiodic requirements are not fulfilled, and then there will not be flowering. Okay, so these 3 points explain the importance of light for plants. Okay, let's talk about importance of light for animals. Generally, animals use seasonal and diurnal variation in intensity and duration of light. Okay, generally animals use seasonal and diurnal variations in intensity and duration of light as clue. They use these variations as clue for what? For reproductive activity, for migratory activity and for foraging activity. Generally animals use seasonal and diurnal variations in intensity and duration of light as clue for reproductive activity, for migratory activity and for foraging activity. Okay, see, this point is very important. Animals use seasonal and diurnal variations in intensity and duration of light as a clue. They use these variations as clue for reproductive activity, for migratory activity and for foraging activity. Okay, so this point explains importance of light for animals. Animals use diurnal and seasonal variations in intensity and duration of light as clue for migration, reproduction and for foraging. Okay, so let's talk about light, importance of light in the great depths. Okay, in the great depths of ocean. So in deep oceans, like more than 500 meter deep, the all color of lights are not available. All color of light spectrum are not available in the oceans which are more than 500 meters deep. Okay, so there only some light can reach, only some colors of the light spectrum can reach. So so spectral quality is very important for them, because only some color of the light spectrum can reach their light. Only red light and orange light can reach there. So spectral quality is very important for organisms who are living in the great depths of the ocean, because all colors of the light spectrum cannot reach there, and that's why the spectral quality is very important for them. Generally, we saw the presence of red algae in the great depths of the ocean. Okay, generally red algae is found in the great depths of the ocean because only red color it can penetrate that much depth. All colors can't reach to that much depth. That's why only red algae is found. Okay, so in deep oceans, more than 500 meters deep, all colors of the spectrum cannot reach. So spectral quality is very important for them. Say for example, red algae, which is found in the great depths of the ocean, because only red color of the light spectrum can penetrate up to that much depth. Okay, so this is all about importance of light for various organisms. First 3 points explain importance of light for plants. Second point explain importance of light for animal, and third point explains importance of light for the organisms who are living in the great depths of the ocean. Okay, chalo. So this is all about light. Let's talk about soil. We all know that nature and property of soil vary at different habitats. Okay, nature and property of soil varies greatly in different habitats. And the nature and property of soil depend on 4 factors. Nature and property of soil depend on 4 factors. They are climate, weathering process, whether soil is transported or sedimentary, and how the soil development has occurred. So 4 factors which decide the type and nature of the soil are climate, weathering process, whether the soil is sedimentary or transported, and fourth is how the soil development has occurred. These four characteristics determine the type of soil present in any habitat. Okay, or these 4 factors will decide the type of soil present in any habitat. Okay, now soil composition, grain size and aggregation. Soil composition, grain size and aggregation will determine the percolation capacity and water holding capacity of the soil. Percolation capacity and water holding capacity of the soil depend on 3 factors. They are soil composition, grain size and aggregation. Okay, water holding capacity and percolation capacity of the soil will be determined by soil composition, grain size and aggregation. Okay, then above characteristic means this characteristic. Okay, soil composition, grain size and aggregation. Above characteristic plus pH, mineral composition and topography. pH, mineral composition and topography along with soil composition, grain size and soil aggregation together will determine the type of vegetation that can be supported by the soil. Okay, type of the vegetation will depend upon what? It will depend upon the pH, on the topography, as well as on the mineral composition and soil composition, soil aggregation and grain size. All these factors will determine the vegetation that can be supported by the soil, and vegetation in turn will determine the type of the animals that can be supported on the soil. Okay, so soil composition, grain size and grain aggregation. Okay, and grain aggregation plus pH plus mineral composition and topography will determine the type of vegetation, and that vegetation will in turn determine the type of animal that can be supported by that soil. Okay, now let's talk about aquatic habitats. In aquatic habitats, some benthic organisms are there. What are benthic organisms? Benthic organisms are those organisms who live at the bottom of the aquatic habitat. Okay, benthic organisms or benthic animals are those animals which live at the bottom of the aquatic habitats. So type of the benthic animals is dependent on the sediment characteristic. Okay, sediment characteristics will determine the type of the benthic animal that is present at the bottom of the aquatic habitat. Okay, in aquatic habitats, sediment characteristics determine the benthic animals. Benthic animals are those which live at the bottom of the aquatic habitats, and the type of the benthic animal is dependent on the sediment characteristics. Okay, so this is all about soil and this is all about light. In light, we said that light is important for autotrophs, for photosynthesis. Herbs and shrubs which grow under large trees are adapted for photosynthesis even in low light conditions, and light is important for photoperiodic requirements. And then we talked about animals. We said that animals use seasonal and diurnal variation in light intensity and duration as clue for migration, for foraging and for reproductive activities. And then we talked about organisms living in great depths. For them we said that all colors of the visible spectrum cannot reach there. So spectral quality is very important for organisms who are living at the great depths of the ocean. Say for example, organisms who live at the 500 meter deep in the ocean, for them only red color can reach there. So only red algae will survive there, other algae cannot survive in the great depth of the ocean. So this is all about light. In the soil we said that in different habitats, the nature and properties of the soil will vary, and it depends majorly on the four factors, and they are climate, weathering process, whether soil is transported or sedimentary, and how the soil development has occurred. Climate, weathering process, whether soil is sedimentary or whether it is transported, and how the soil development has occurred. These four factors will determine the type of the soil that is present in any habitat. And then we said that soil composition, soil grain size and grain aggregation will determine the water holding capacity and percolation capacity. And then we said that above characteristics plus pH, mineral composition and topography will determine the vegetation, and that vegetation in turn will determine the type of the animals that can be supported by the soil. Okay, so here we finish the abiotic factors, and in the next slide we will begin the response towards the abiotic factors. So students, we have completed abiotic factors. Okay, all abiotic factors we have discussed, and now we will discuss the response towards these abiotic factors. How different organisms responded towards this abiotic factor, that we will discuss in the next slide. Okay, responses towards abiotic factor, that is our next point. Okay, or that is our next topic. So different organisms respond to these abiotic factors via four methods. Okay, they respond to these abiotic factors via four methods. Sometimes they respond via regulation, sometimes they respond via conformation, sometimes they respond via migration, and some organisms will respond via suspension. So basically there are four methods of responding to the abiotic factors. Okay, four methods are there to respond to the abiotic factors. They are regulation, conformation, migration and suspension. We will discuss that later, but here we are trying to understand a term called homeostasis. Okay, here we are trying to understand a term called homeostasis. So we will discuss this later, but here we will understand about the homeostasis first. Okay, so during evolution many species have evolved a constant internal environment. During evolution, many species have evolved a constant internal environment. Even though the external environment is changing, their internal environment remains relatively constant. Okay, this they have developed a relatively constant internal environment. Even though the external environment is changing, they have developed a constant internal environment. And this constant internal environment allows all physiological process and metabolic reactions to occur at maximum rate. Okay, the constant internal environment allows all physiological process and metabolic reactions to occur at maximum rate, due to which the fitness of the organism increases. Okay, so what we are saying that during the course of evolution many species have evolved relatively constant internal environment. Even though the external environment is changing, their internal environment remains constant, due to which the physiological processes and metabolic reactions occur at maximum rate, and this allows this increases the fitness of the organism. And as the fitness of the organism is increased, he is able to survive on the land. Okay. So during evolution, many species have evolved a constant internal environment that allows metabolic reactions and physiological functions to occur at maximum rate. And so fitness of the organism is increased. Okay, and this process of maintaining constant internal environment, even though the external environment is changing, the process of maintaining a constant internal environment is known as homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis is the process of maintaining constant internal environment even though the external environment is changing. That is known as homeostasis. Okay, and generally animals achieve homeostasis via osmoregulation and thermoregulation. Generally organisms achieve homeostasis via osmoregulation and thermoregulation. And both these are physiological processes. Osmoregulation and thermoregulation are nothing but the physiological processes. So many animals, process of maintaining the constant internal environment is known as homeostasis, and many animals achieve homeostasis by osmoregulation and thermoregulation, and these are nothing but the physiological processes. Osmoregulation and thermoregulations are nothing but the physiological processes. And here an analogy is explained. Okay, this analogy is related to homeostasis. An analogy is explained over here. Okay, suppose a person is there who is able to perform his best at 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, if a person is there and that person is able to perform his best at 25 degrees Celsius, so this person will wish that this 25 degrees Celsius environment is maintained. Okay, the temperature in the environment remain 25 degrees Celsius. That would be his wish. Okay, so a person is able to perform his best in 25 degrees Celsius. Now during summer season, when atmospheric temperature is high, he will try to maintain 25 degrees Celsius by using AC either in car or in workplace or at home. He wishes to maintain constant temperature outside. Okay, because in 25 degrees Celsius only he is able to perform his best. So he will wish that this 25 degrees Celsius should be maintained, and he will try to maintain this 25 degrees Celsius in summer season by using AC either in car, either at workplace or at home. Okay, so in summer season when atmospheric temperature is high, this person will try to maintain 25 degrees Celsius by using AC in car, home or at workplace. Okay, in the same manner, during winter season, when atmospheric temperature is low, he will try to increase temperature up to 25 degrees Celsius by using heater. Okay, by using heater at home or at workplace or in car, he will try to maintain 25 degrees Celsius using the heater. So he will try to maintain 25 degrees Celsius even in summer season or in winter season, because at 25 degrees Celsius only he is able to perform his best. Okay, otherwise he cannot perform his work in a better way, and so he is trying to maintain 25 degrees Celsius to perform his best. Okay, so here he is trying to maintain constant temperature by using artificial means. He is trying to maintain a constant temperature by using artificial means. AC is nothing but an artificial means. Okay, so he is trying to maintain the constant temperature in summer season as well as in the winter season by using artificial means. So here homeostasis is achieved, but not by physiological process, but by artificial means. Okay, here homeostasis is achieved not by the physiological process but by the artificial means. He has not achieved homeostasis by thermoregulation. But he has achieved homeostasis by using either AC or by heater. So this analogy says that a person will try to maintain constant temperature by using either artificial means or by physiological means. Okay, if he is not able to use artificial means, then he will try to use the physiological means. Okay, but anyhow he will try to maintain constant temperature, he will try to maintain constant environment, which allows the physiological reactions and metabolic reactions to occur at maximum rate, which increases the fitness of the organism. Okay, so this is an analogy regarding homeostasis. Here homeostasis is maintained by using heater and AC, which are nothing but the artificial means, and if the artificial means are not available to organism, that organism will try to use the physiological means. Okay, so this is all about homeostasis and its analogy, and we have begun the topic called responses towards the abiotic factor. How do different organisms respond to the abiotic factors? And in that we said that organisms respond to the abiotic factors via four means: via regulation, via conformation, via migration, and via suspension. But we have not started this four responses. We have just discussed the topic of homeostasis first, and then we have talked about an analogy regarding the homeostasis. We will begin all these responses in the next video, but please understand the homeostasis and its analogy. Please read it from the textbook, okay? And then if you have any doubt, please ask me, okay? So, best of luck.